Welcome back. Today I hope to solve some puzzles on chess.com as part of my fourth puzzle run in which I have been trying to, get as high as I can in the puzzle ratings. This is not like Puzzle Rush where you start out with the lowest rated puzzles because I have already attained a rating of 1652, so all the puzzles are going to be in this rating range or higher. I am going to use my checklist, which hopefully appeared on the screen here, because almost all the puzzles that I've missed, it's because I wasn't using my checklist. Now here, the first thing that we look for is checks. I don't think I have any checks in this position, so I have captures. I can capture the rook, but if I do, they can just take back. And I don't think I've gained anything after that point. I can capture this rook, but they take back, and again, I don't think I've gained anything. It's on to threats, I guess. The first, most obvious threat that comes to mind is moving the rook over to e1, where it threatens their queen. I assume that the queen would want to continue guarding this spot here because, I would be trying to go down there for a mate. So when the queen moved, where would it go? Would it just move over one? And in that case, then what would I have? I mean, I could threaten the queen with the queen, and then they might want to trade, and I would take back with the rook, and I would be threatening mate. Could they stop that? Yes, they could. They could bring this rook back, and then they would be threatening a fork with the knight here. It's possible I'm missing something very obvious. I guess I could threaten this rook with the bishop, but then where the rook could just move over. I don't think they would take the bishop because then I would get this rook. Or how about this? How about threaten that rook with the rook and be threatening a mate back here? What would they play if I played rook a to c1? They could just take, I guess, and then I could take back, and then I'd be threatening mate with my queen, but they could just stop it. Stop the threat, I mean, and we would have just had an even trade. I could take this rook, and they wouldn't have to take back with their queen. They could take with the pawn. Yeah, so I'm not seeing anything in this puzzle. I'm going to pause the recording and look at it for a little longer. Okay, I've come up with, threatening this rook, and they're, threatening mate down there, but that didn't work out. I've come up with, trying to trade here first, but that doesn't do anything except an even trade. So the strongest move that I've come up with so far is to threaten their queen. The problem with that is that I'm not really threatening mate because the queen can just drop back and keep protecting the rook as well as protecting that spot. However, my light squared bishop protects that spot too. So if I move over and the queen does go down to protect this spot, then I'm going to go ahead and go there anyway. And if the queen is on the d file, then it's a check, and they basically have to sacrifice the queen for the rook. But if the queen's on the f file, if the queen went back to f8, it's not a check, so it's not forcing, but I'm going to win the queen on the next turn, unless they check me, in which case I'll win one of their rooks. So so that's the best I've come up with. I'm going to try it, and hopefully that will work. Okay, they went that way. So when I come down here, it's not going to be a check. Again, assuming that's my best move. And I think that it is, because previously I was just threatening the queen, but now I'm pretty much going to win it. However, if I play there, it's not check, so they have something else that they can do, and I don't know what it's going to be. I guess if they checked me, I just win that, right? Okay, I'm going to play rook to e8. They took it, so I'll take the queen with the bishop, right? Okay, wow. That one took a lot longer than I was hoping, but, that's the way these go sometimes, and I don't expect any easy ones at this level. Next. Okay, usually the opponent's first move in a puzzle, the move that's right before your first move, usually that's supposed to be a mistake or a blunder, but here that seems like a reasonable move, doesn't it? Because I was threatening mate here. My bishop and my queen were both pointed at g7, so they went up to protect it, but I don't know if they should they have done something else? But regardless, I don't have the mate there anymore. However, I do have a check. I'm going to stick with the checklist. That's the first thing that I have is the checklist. And this is a check. Queen captures on g7, but that loses a queen. So that's not it, probably. I can take here, protected by the bishop, and then I think they don't have to block that check. They can come up. Okay, so if I capture on d8, and that's a check, they can either block with the queen, which I don't think they'll do because I'll take it, or they can block with this rook, which I don't think they'll do because then I'll have the g7 mate again. So I think they'll get out here with the king, and then I've just won a rook. But then what do I do? Oh, then I suppose I could come check over this way. Queen to c2 check. I guess they would have to move the pawn. But if they moved the pawn, then my rook goes into the corner, and I think that's mate. Okay, so I'm going to take on d8 with check. Okay, they did go up there. Well, is c2 a good move here? How many ways out of that do they have? It's only the one legal move, right? And then that allows the bishop to protect the corner. Okay, I'm going to try queen to c2 check. Oh, and it stopped. It just stopped. I think in a game they only have one legal move and then I have mate. But I'm going to check real quick to be sure. After the queen 2 check, if I turn on the lines, oh no, they have 3 legal moves. Sorry, no, I went to here, sorry. Oh, they have 3 legal moves because they can block with the queen. Oh, okay. So, but whichever one they went to, then my best move would be to take it, so why didn't the puzzle continue? Yeah, I have clearly mate in 2 is a lot better than mate in 8, so I would take there, and then they only have 1 legal move, and this is mate. Yeah, I don't know why the puzzle stopped. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that I had understood the position correctly. Next puzzle. Again, let's look at the checklist. I have queen check down here on E1, which forces the king up. They don't have any other choice. And then I suppose I could bring the rook down to B1, and I would be threatening the mate over in the corner. Do they have any other option if I play this? No, they do not. Okay, so that's a very forcing check, and I think it's my only check. Well, no. Rook to B1 now is a check, but that'll just lose my rook. And then I won't be able to check with my queen on the back rank. So let's say that queen to E1 check, they have to go to H2, I think. Then rook to B1, preparing a mate on H1. What do they play? Do they take it? I don't know if they have to take it or not, if that's their best move. They can guard against H1, however, by putting their knight here. Oh, but I don't have to go to H1. I can go to G1 and it's mate. But I don't know, they might have some other resource that I'm not seeing after I get my rook down there lined up with my queen for the corner. But I would be able to have mate on either one of those 2 squares. And they can't check me at that point. Their queen can't get down to check me. Their knight can't check me. Okay, I'm going to try that queen to E1. Okay, and I'm pretty sure that it's not putting my queen here on G3. I'm pretty sure. I think they would just take it. Okay, I'm going to put my rook on B1 like I originally said because I don't see anything else. But one thing that's cool about the checklist is it can be applied to every turn. Every turn I can look again and see if I have checks. Like I do have this check and I do have the 2 checks in the corner on H and G1. But I think in all those cases my queen gets lost. And those are my only 3 checks. And there aren't any captures here other than the knight and this pawn, which are not good. So I'm going to put the rook on B1, which is a threat. And again, I'm threatening checkmate on both of those squares because my pawn cuts off G3. Gonna play it. Oh, they just took it. Okay, well then I win because I took their queen. It's still going to be difficult. This is not going to be an easy in-game to win. One thing I have found out is when they have a knight left versus a queen, it can be pretty difficult to, to end up with a checkmate. But it does look like I'm going to be able to, start picking off some pawns here and then maybe get another one passed. By the way, if you've made it this far in the video, you might as well know that I feel a little bad for making this video right now because my wife's out having a root canal. I don't know if you've ever had a root canal. I haven't, but I've heard that they're unpleasant. But I can't do anything about it. It's not like I can help them do the root canal better, so I shouldn't feel bad. And I'm going to be done with this before she gets home. And she said she didn't want me to take her there, so which I offered. I did offer to drive her to there and drive her back. She didn't want that, so. But anyway, fingers crossed that all goes well. Next. Well, I do have one check in this position, and that is to put my rook down on H8. And we might as well consider it, as far as I can tell, that's my only check. If I play that, the opponent is forced to take, I'm pretty sure. And then I win their queen by taking on F7, which is a check. And then I'll win the queen for a knight. Is that worth it, to give up a rook and a knight for that queen? Because we're even on material right now. We both have 2 rooks, a queen, and a knight. But I would be giving up these 2 pieces for the pawn and the queen, which I know is 2 points extra material that I would be gaining. And then my opponent would be left with 2 rooks, and I would be left with a queen and a rook. So that's got to be it. Probably. Oh, it was. Well, then it has to be this, because that's the only reason I sacrificed the rook. Okay. At first, when I saw the open H file, I thought that after they took the rook, I would be wanting to move my queen over. But then I thought there's no mate because they just go back, and I don't have any more safe checks down there. And that's when I started looking for things with the knight. And once the king is no longer protecting this, because it went over there to take my rook, then I realized I did have a safe check, and then I win the queen. Okay. Oh, and I got 11 points, so that came in handy. Next puzzle. Okay, we have an endgame puzzle. We use a slightly different checklist on endgame puzzles because there's so little to worry about. However, because there are still rooks on the board, it's not just pawns. If it's just pawns, that makes it even simpler usually. But with there's rooks on the board, then we have checks to look out for. And I do have a check with my rook because, I'm playing with the black pieces. I can check, but then they can just come up. They can't come back where they are because the pawn is guarding that square. g2. So if I check on d1, the king is forced to h2. Okay, but I can keep the king from going to h2 by playing my king to h3 first, which then both of those squares, h2 and g2, will be cut off. And then I'm threatening checkmate. So this, because of the two rooks on the board, I think I'm using the regular checklist here. I don't know what they would play. If I play king to h3, they can't check me. They can take a pawn, but they can't check me because my own pawn would be blocking. Even if they could capture their own pawn, that wouldn't be a check. They can't try to run this way because that is also mate, because my f pawn is covering both e2 and g2, and my king would be covering h2 and g2. So I think it's king to h3 to keep their king from escaping the check. Let's do that. I mean, I hope that I don't see anything else, right? Okay, it was that. Well, now when I check, they're going to be able to block with the rook, but that doesn't help anything. That's checkmate. Oh, and it doesn't have a mate in 3 tag or anything, and no way to add one, because they've removed the ability to add or suggest tags. Okay, next puzzle. All right, they have captured something there. It went so quickly I didn't see what it was, but it sounded like it was a capture. What checks do I have? I have a queen check on f8. However, they have 3 different pieces that could take back, so I don't think that's it. I have a knight. I have 2 knight checks. I don't know if one of them's better, but let's look at them. Knight to e7 check. They're probably not going to take with their queen because my queen's guarding that square and I would win their queen for a knight. So I'm going to assume that they won't take. So on a knight to e7 check, then their only other move, I think, is to get the king out of there. And then what would I do? From there, I could check again on g6, but then they could just take it. Oh, no. Once my knight's out of the way, they lose the queen. Check. Again, I mean, now that my rook's attacking their queen, they might take the knight with their queen. Now that I realize that, because of where my rook is, they might trade the queen for the knight. But are there any other options? They move out of check, and then I take their queen, and then they take my knight. What about this check? See, okay, this one doesn't work because my queen isn't guarding that square. In that case, they would just take the knight on f6. So I think that's what it is then. I think it's knight to e7 check. I'm going to try it. Oh, they did just take it for the queen. Okay. Oh, well, I'm glad it didn't go, some other way that would have lasted much longer. Next puzzle. Oh, that one was only rated 1500. Okay, next. Okay, lots of powerful pieces still left on the board. Their queen is getting in here, but not sure what they can do. Oh, they can checkmate me. Like if my rook leaves this square, they have checkmate. Okay, so I need to pay attention to that then. Like right now, if I take their rook and they take back, then I have one move before they checkmate me. But if I do something else, I don't know, just push a pawn, then they're going to take here and they're going to be ready to checkmate me. And what can I do about it? Nothing? All right, well, let's look at checks because that's what we do. I mean, that's a check and a capture, but I'm not going to play that because then they're going to go here and they're still going to be threatening mate. So let's say rook captures on e1 check. They would have 2 legal moves. Now, if they went to g2, then I would have this follow-up, queen captures on f3 because the bishop is back here protecting the queen. I would still have that check if they went to f2, but then they could take my rook from there, and then I would have mate on e2. Okay, so let's see. They have 2 choices. We already determined, and I think either way, I'm going to check by capturing on f3. Okay, but what if they went to... If they had gone to g2 and I check there, they can get out over here, and then I can check with this bishop. They have to come forward, and I don't know. That one gets really complicated, right? Rook capturing on e1 check, king to g2. Queen capturing on f3. They escape over here. Okay, I could go down 1 first with the queen, but then that gives them 2 choices, one of which I could cover with the bishop. Wow. Like, it's really complicated. I just know that I probably shouldn't take this pawn first because then they take the rook and they're threatening mate. So I'm going to take the rook with check. Oh, I hope that's right. It was not, and I lost 10 points for it. All right, well, let's find out what it was then. It was taking the pawn. Wow, and that's a huge difference. These 2 moves, the next 2 best moves, with g5 is my next best move, and rook capturing down there is my 3rd best move, according to Stockfish here. Okay, so this apparently takes us back to even, but this gives me minus 50. Okay, the reason that they won't take your threatening mate is because I would have mate immediately. I get that now. So restart this puzzle. I take here. Oh, and that would have been it. That would have been the end of the puzzle. Oh, I probably would have been upset if I had solved it and that was it. That was the end. But I do understand now, because after they play here and I take that, they're not going to take here because I have mate. I'm threatening mate now. Their best move, the one that delays mate the longest, is queen to c6. That's what Stockfish says, queen to c6. And I wouldn't take it with my bishop. I would take here with check first. And I assume they would take back because it's their only legal move. And then I would take the queen with the bishop. And I assume they would take with the pawn. So now I don't have a mate threat anymore. But now I can take here. And they're going to threaten my queen. But I'm going to check them with the pawn first. They're going to take it because it's their only legal move. And then I'm going to take the rook. And I have mate in 4 somehow. I guess I'm probably going to have to bring my rook at some point. Rook to f8, it says. Okay. Wow. Well, that's why it didn't continue, because there were more than one option after that. But okay. Yeah, I understand it. Next puzzle. I was getting so close to 1700 too. Okay, do I have any checks? I don't think I do. I can't get my queen anywhere that's a check, and no other pieces. Okay, captures. I can capture this pawn on e4, but usually capturing a pawn is not the answer unless you're threatening something else from there. I can capture this bishop. Wait, that's just picking up a free piece, isn't it? That's just a free piece. We're even on material now, are we not? I mean, they have the bishop pair, and I do not, but I think we're even on material. They already have a couple of doubled pawns. Oh, I think maybe instead of that, they should have just left the queen there and moved the bishop. And then if we had done a queen trade, and I could have taken a rook, they would have also gotten a rook out of the deal, and they would have a much better development than I would have. And it would have just been an even trade. But here I'm going to pick up a piece because they don't have any pieces. You know, they had other pieces guarding d8, but they don't have any other pieces guarding the bishop. I wonder if that's it. Because, those are my only 2 captures. And I don't even see any threats. Oh, I'm nervous about that, but I'm going to take the bishop. Oh, and they took back. Well, then I'll take their queen, I think. Oh, they took my knight. I should probably take back. Okay. Well, that kind of surprised me that it went that far, but glad I solved it. I think we understood the idea that they had multiple defenders on d8 where the queen originally was, but once the queen moved up here, they didn't have multiple defenders on the bishop. Next puzzle. Okay. Well, let's look at our checks. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 checks with the queen, but I think capturing on e4 is the most forcing check, keeping in mind that my light squared bishop cuts off a couple of those squares. My queen would be hitting here, so they can't block that. So they'd be forced to come out to d2, where I could then check with my rook because my queen would be defending it from e4. And I think that would be checkmate. I think queen captures e4 check, forces their king to d2. They don't have any other options. They wouldn't be able, oh no, they would block with the knight. Oh wow, why didn't they see that? They'll block with the knight. No, if they block with the knight, that's mate because of my light squared bishop. So they do have 2 options here, either blocking with the knight, which is mate because of my bishop, or they move the king to d2, in which case rook to c2 is checkmate, I think. Oh, they did block with the knight. Well, that's just checkmate because of my bishop. Okay, well, I got that. Wow. Next puzzle. Okay, well, I wasn't really threatening to go there because of the rook, but now I'm definitely not threatening to go there. What do I have? Oh, I just have a check here. Right? Capturing on h2 is check, and that forces them to take back, and then that's mate. No, they'd have to block with the queen, and then I would take the queen. But wait, no, then I lost my queen and a rook. Wait, maybe that's not it. It looked right at first, but yeah, when they take that and I check, no, it's still mate because of the bishop. My rook's going to get out of the way of the bishop, so when they have to block that check with their queen and I take it, that's checkmate. Oh, and I did it fast enough that I broke 1700 on one puzzle. I thought I was going to have to do 2 puzzles to break 1700. That's why we look at all the checks, and that check was the best. Okay. Well, it has been a while since I missed a puzzle in one of these sessions because usually I spend enough time on it, that I get the right solution, but I did miss one today. And in case you were wondering, I don't put the links to the puzzles in my descriptions anymore because a few months ago, YouTube said that the chess.com links I was putting in my description were a scam or a spam, and they threatened to remove one of my videos. So I had to take that link out. And I went to the customer service help and asked about it, and they just responded that, nope, it's a scam or a spam. And I asked again, I said, I used to put chess.com links under all of my videos, and, are there some that are okay and some that are not okay? And they said, we can't tell you. And I was, and we went back and forth over multiple days. But I will put the numbers of the chess puzzles, like this number right here, I will put those in the description. And if you're on a web browser, you know how to manually build a URL to put the puzzle's number in there. So if you wanted to work on these yourselves, and I know that doesn't apply to everybody, but some people had asked, that I put those links down there, but I'm not going to anymore because of what they did. So either way, I appreciate you being here. Hopefully you're getting better at chess too. I think I solved a couple of these faster than I would have a year ago. I don't know. It's really difficult to measure that, but I think I'm getting better. And I'll see you next time.